Hey folks, we have a couple minutes before this is scheduled to start, so feel free to walk away from your computer for 5-6 minutes and you won't miss anything, I promise. You're just going to have to stare at my face for the next few minutes. So.
Switching to phone audio.
Okay.
Michael, am I in the wrong place?
No, you are in the right place.
Oh, man.
This is Mobilize to Organize with Martha Green.
Damn.
I thought about changing the name to Starring Martha Grant to really emphasize it, but didn't go through with it.
There we go. Excellent. Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes. We'll give folks some time to hop on. So we'll be starting at 2 o'clock my time, 3 o'clock Eastern time. Thank you for joining.
Martha, I don't know if you're trolling me right now, but this slide is for a different presentation.
Not trolling you. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. It's a day. Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to our second to last session of the day. Probably going to wrap this up with like 10-15 minutes before the end, give folks a little bit of a break before we head into our final session of the Build Power 2021 convening. Thank you so much for joining us. So the point of this session, the goal of this session is to help you understand where ActionBuilder can fit into your program. What is an assessment? How does ActionBuilder fit into the work that you're already doing on the ground? And we've especially tailored it for folks who are currently primarily running a digital program to start to give you a sense of how you can start building up leaders, building up local chapters, doing that sort of deep relationship-based organizing. So I see that there's a bunch of awesome union folks on the list. I hope that in terms of participation, I hope that you can get something out of this as well. We're going to talk about some specific features that I think will be really interesting, especially on how you can start to build wider funnels for organizing campaigns. So I hope you enjoy. Feel free to drop any questions in the Q&A at any time. Drop them in the chat as well. Thanks so much. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start by talking a little bit about our model. So we fundamentally believe, I love the line in Hamilton, it's a movement, not a moment. So playing on that, it's a movement, not a market. So as you've probably heard several times now, if you've been part of our sessions, we are a never-for-profit organization. We build tools cooperatively using this great collaborative process. My role, Martha Grant, Director of Cooperative Development, is helping facilitate the meetings with 20, 25, sometimes 30 different stakeholders, AFL-CIO affiliated unions, on what we're going to build, how, and when in ActionBuilder. And while building technology by committee might seem really intimidating to a lot of folks, we very much believe that when organizers build technology, it becomes better for organizers. And that's what we bring here. We also just fundamentally don't think that it's a good idea to try and profit from movement technology. We're providing infrastructure for the movement, and we aren't out to make a profit for ourselves or for some hidden wealthy investors who are backing us. We have a sustainable model. We price our tools in a sustainable way. And then we also have these deep collaborative partnerships with organizations like the AFL-CIO and ActionBuilder, and then AFL-CIO, Daily Coast, and the DNC on the Action Network side to make sure that our costs are covered and we're able to continue to provide these tools at low cost to you all. So let's talk a little bit about organizing. So frequently in the progressive movement and world at large, we'll see folks do big events. They'll be building their lists. They'll do great fundraising off of those lists. They'll do petitions, letter campaigns, that big digital advocacy push, more fundraising, more events, create that flywheel effect. This is mobilize, mobilize, mobilize from our perspective, using that terminology. And while it can be really great for building like a really large list, creating like a solid fundraising wing, adding an organization component that is integrated with this mobilization component is what we're going to be talking about today. So one of the things, if you're just doing that mobilize, mobilize, mobilize piece, or if you have very distinct mobilization pieces from organizing components, is it can separate people from your organization instead of basing your organization really like being a part of the community that you're organizing and that you're moving and building. So got to throw in a Eugene V. Debs quote. I love this one. So we know that without solidarity, nothing is possible, that with it, nothing is impossible. So I think there's lots of ways of talking about good organizing, solidarity at the core, really building like a genuine relationship with everybody in your organization, treating everybody as a potential leader, helping build up people's capacity to organize, to lead, is such a crucial part of any good organizing system. I'm sure many of you have seen this graphic before. Essentially, ActionBuilder was built for the organizing side of the Mobilize to Organize, and especially built with this sort of snowflake model in mind. So if you're not familiar with the snowflake model, the idea is that you have people who have relationships with other people, who have relationships with other people, and it lets you scale your organization really quickly. The assessments in ActionBuilder are all about assessing somebody's leadership growth and potential. One aspect of the snowflake model is that there's no such thing as too many leaders. There's no such thing as too many activists. It's a fluid structure that lets you build really rapidly at scale. As somebody is ready to fill the leadership role, you give them the tools they need to actually go out and be the leader in their community that you want them to be, that they want to be, that the community needs them to be. Another way to think about this in terms of more of a like pseudo-hierarchical structure is you could think of this two-way street between like leaders working with organizers, organizers becoming leaders, activists becoming organizers, becoming leaders, sort of a very fluid flow. And one important note on the two-way arrows is highly encourage your organizations to have some democratic means of informing the leadership, informing the strategic direction of the organization. Creating real authentic buy-in can be so crucial. And applying the snowflake model to this basic diagram, it's like turtles all the way down, right? So like your activists are leaders, your activists are leading organizers, it really becomes just this tower of a structure with people wearing multiple hats. Somebody might be both an activist, but they also are a leader of like another local chapter. They're also an organizer. Something that I think it's also really easy to forget in the work that we do is people wear multiple different hats for multiple different organizations. And that's one of the really exciting things that we're encouraging folks to track using ActionBuilder. We call them entities and connections. So you can add community groups in ActionBuilder. You can add connections between community groups and people in ActionBuilder. And then you can track people's role in other community organizations. I think we think that the more people think about the work that we're doing in the community as part of all of the other work that's happening in the community, recognizing that a volunteer who's active with us may actually be really integrated into a whole host of other activists through a different organization they're a part of. If you're starting to track and map those relationships, it can let you build the political power you need in a community all the faster. So talking a little bit about what this means for the ActionBuilder Action Network integration, how you use the two tools together. So in Action Network, you can create public-facing forms, public-facing events, automate the texts and emails to your volunteers. You can do fundraising as well. So that Mobilize, Mobilize, Mobilize slide that I showed you, that great flywheel effect, that happens in Action Network. So that mobilization, that advocacy, letter campaigns, petitions, that happens in Action Network. But then in ActionBuilder, you can tall text, email potential volunteers, log all the great information about the one-on-one conversations you're having, log the information about the connections that people have with other organizations. There's roles in those other organizations. Track, what people are doing. Are they actually doing the work with you? What's their assessment? Are they a potential leader? Are they a leader in your organization? So tracking all of that robust information about your structure and your organizing efforts, that happens in ActionBuilder. Doing all of the mobilization, the advocacy work, that can happen in Action Network. But putting the two together is where things get really exciting. So I'm going to run through 5 different examples just to hopefully get your brains whirring with the possibilities. So one option, basic option, is sort of like a team building example. So you have your Action Network intake funnel. So this can be a public-facing form that you embed in your website. It could be a petition on like a hot issue in your community. It could be a union authorization card. So some folks are using Action Network forms as their actual like NLRB authorization card. Those folks can automatically flow into ActionBuilder, and you can set up what we call tasks in ActionBuilder to do one-on-ones directly with those individuals. Then you can track additional follow-ups coming out of those that initial call. You can track their RSVPs, do confirmation calls to people who have RSVP'd for a particular event in ActionBuilder, do attendance in ActionBuilder. Some of this you can also automate between ActionBuilder and Action Network. So if somebody says they're interested in attending a training in ActionBuilder, you could apply a tag in ActionBuilder, have that trigger a set of emails and text messages to actually drive attendance to that event from Action Network as well. Then in ActionBuilder, you're tracking all of this work. You're looking at all of the different things that these different people are doing, who's getting more involved, who's staying less involved, more on that digital mobilization side. And this lets you start to identify leaders and lets you group people for those leaders to talk to and start to build them into actual team leaders. And then ultimately the goal is to help those teams become more independent and sustainable. So you're actually giving these team leaders access to ActionBuilder, helping them assess who is their potential leaders, help them identify who needs additional training, help them get that additional training until they become these fully autonomous teams who are then continuing to drive people into the intake funnel, either through events, through petitions, through other forms that they can do in Action Network. Both Action Network and ActionBuilder are set up to help distributed organizations grow really rapidly. On Action Network, we have a feature called Distributed Events. You can also set up an Action Network network. An Action Network network. And then you can have sort of, we call them like child groups in Action Network where all the information will flow up to your national network, but your child groups can actually be creating their own petitions or forms or letter campaigns, everything very hyper-local. And then each child group can be tied through the ActionBuilder Action Network integration to an ActionBuilder campaign for that child group, where they can create their own responses, really take care of everything themselves. And when you tie those two together, you're really letting your child groups be completely autonomous in a really exciting way, in a way that for the union folks on this call, I think can be really, really powerful, especially as you're thinking about internal campaigns. A lot of you already have child groups for your locals. Your local could have a campaign in ActionBuilder and then really hit the ground running as well, using this flywheel effect. And then example number 2 is sort of like a loose network. So you might have an Action Network intake funnel again, like a form. But then what you might do is automate more of the front end of identifying leaders. So when somebody says like, yeah, I'm interested in getting involved in your organization through a form, you could set up an autoresponder to say like, awesome, you should RSVP for our weekly membership intake meeting. Or some other online event. So you can set up like that recurring Zoom meeting, have the link to the recurring Zoom in your Action Network auto reply. You could set up a recurring event in Action Network, so people will actually RSVP for the event in that recurring link. And then only if people RSVP for that event, then they start flowing into ActionBuilder. So this is a nice way to streamline who actually ends up flowing into ActionBuilder. Instead of having it be everybody who fills out a form, there's that step in between before they get added to ActionBuilder. And then you get like, okay, great, you RSVP'd. Maybe you do confirmation calls. Maybe you contact the attendees. You can use quick actions in ActionBuilder, a great feature to just quickly mark everybody who attended an event out of the RSVPs and actually have those attendees be contacted by volunteers, ask them to attend like another meeting or another training, and you start to get that flowing. I have a little note on the bottom that you can also track local groups and leaders in ActionBuilder. One thing that has come up with our new entities feature is the ability to create an entity type that's kind of like your local groups. And then you could have a name for each local group. You can tie people to that local group using the connections in ActionBuilder. And then using this entities feature, you can actually assess the local groups. So you can imagine a leader assessment and all the way down to sort of inactive. That applies to local groups as much as people. So you could say that this local group is actually like a leader in terms of doing everything right, versus this local group is not. And if you associate an address with that local group, or even just, put city, state, zip, you can map all of your local groups on a map with that color coding of the assessment scale and get a really quick sense very quickly of, am I strong, am I weak, where do I need to build power? In addition to this being like really helpful, I think, for running like a national distributed organizing campaign, you can also think about this being hyper local. So if you're running a local election, if you're running like a series of local groups trying to, get a new bike path put in, something like that, you could have, your 10 top leaders are also actually leading local groups, maybe just run out of their living rooms, and being able to track that evolution, who is part of that group, how many people are part of those groups, giving that local leader access to everybody, their 10 people when they log into ActionBuilder, can be really helpful for just keeping tabs on your whole organizing effort. If you're not storing the data anywhere, you won't have that good strategic picture of, are you headed for a win? The third example I wanted to talk through is something I'm calling a defined network. So again, we've got this intake funnel, we've got our online event, but then we have like a series of one-on-ones, trainings, with really like a membership model. So you're tracking membership in ActionBuilder as well. And you could actually use Action Network to do dues. So set up a recurring contribution. You could have a membership card sign form in Action Network as well and have that information flow to ActionBuilder. And then really use ActionBuilder for your continued membership growth, tracking leadership, tracking retention, and then of course giving access to your local leaders so that they can really run with it. Number 4, so this is more of like taking that large scale distributed event that we first talked about, and you're actually giving people through a distributed event in Action Network the ability to create their own events locally. So this would be inviting event creators and attendees to skill building trainings, would be like a nice output of that. So different people can actually create their own events sort of like autonomously from you using the distributed events in Action Network. And then you could drill down and invite those event creators to a tailored leadership development training, and invite attendees to a different skill building training, track all of that in Action Network and funnel those RSVPs into ActionBuilder, track that in ActionBuilder as well. And those event creators are potentially like quick early leaders, and you could give them access to the attendees for their event in ActionBuilder. You could also segment attendees by geography, and your leaders, whether they had created the event initially or have just like excelled in the other training programs that you put together, they become organizers in ActionBuilder and really start building out their local chapters autonomously. And then finally, so you could actually create like this more robust flywheel by tasking those leaders in an ongoing way with creating distributed events in Action Network. Again, they don't need any special permissions to do that. Depending on how you've set up your distributed event, anybody can do that. So they don't need to create an Action Network account if they don't already have one. You could be encouraging those leaders to assign roles in ActionBuilder to different people who will be staffing that event. Track, they're sharing it with their networks using source codes in Action Network. Be able to celebrate those wins as a team, and then treat all of those new attendees as potential members through the one-on-ones that you're running through ActionBuilder. Again, with this two-way sync between Action Network and ActionBuilder, really letting you track all of that growth over time. So at this point, that's everything I really wanted to cover in this training, give you a sense of what this looks like. I do have a demo account pulled up if anybody wants to see particular ideas, questions, thoughts of what you could do. And yeah, feel free to drop any questions in the chat or in the Q&A. A demo would be great. Awesome. Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up ActionBuilder here and show you a little bit about what I'm talking about. So I'm also going to pull up Action Network so you can really see these two tools side by side. And we'll do a really short version of this. So, sweet. There we go. Just let me know if you can't see anything at any point. So here we've got our Action Network group. It's Martha Grant Test. And here we have our ActionBuilder campaign, the demo campaign. So quick recap. In ActionBuilder, when you log in, you're taken to the list of people you're organizing. You can have as many different campaigns as you want. You can quickly see people here, click into their profile to see additional information about them, to assess them, like I mentioned before, of are they a leader, a supporter, potential leader, track any information about them, track their connections to different people. You can track their connections to different organizations as well. All of this is completely customizable in ActionBuilder. Then we have our activity stream, all of the information that's been added by anyone, another great option for reporting. And then here in the wall chart, you can group different people based on that assessment scale on locations or any fields that are in the system to sort of get that sense of where am I strong, where am I weak. This is also where you could group on teams, for instance, and see that information. Talking a little bit about the ActionBuilder Action Network integration. So I set this up earlier as part of the first training of the day. So when you turn on an integration, it generates a magic tag in Action Network. And everybody who gets that magic tag will be added to this ActionBuilder campaign from this Action Network group. And then you can sync, it's a two-way sync between tags and responses. So this is where you can create that, like, okay, this person attended a training, the source of this person is the volunteer intake form, this person signed a petition, and start to create that sort of flywheel effect of that information from one place to the other, helping you use it in both places effectively. In the Action Network side, in this Action Network group, if I go to my forms list, here, you can see I created this volunteer recruitment form earlier. And if I click on Manage, for any form, petition, event, you can click Edit Tags to add specific tags to this form. So this ActionBuilder demo campaign 1 is what we call that magic tag. So anybody with that tag will be added automatically to ActionBuilder on an hourly basis. So the sync runs hourly. They'd also get, anybody who completes this form will get this source volunteer intake form tag. So all of the folks who fill out this form will flow into this ActionBuilder campaign, and they get that source volunteer intake response. And they would also get the response, they'd also get the magic tag applied, so that means that they'd actually flow in. So I'd be able to see in the activity stream on an hourly basis how many people came in via that source volunteer intake form. I'd be able to search in the wall chart for anybody who used the intake form as well, using this info section. So get a sense of how many people are coming in through that intake form. In tasks, this is our way of assigning specific work for specific people. So I could click here I'll actually go here to manage tasks to show you a little bit about it. So, you might want to do a one-on-one for everybody who completes that intake form. So you'd say, like, let's get their interests, let's add a note, let's make sure we get the address for them. And then here, on a weekly basis, I could create a query, and I could go here and select intake form. And I want to pull only people who've had the intake form applied in the past week. So I do search date applied and do starting from last Friday. And if I click apply, it'll only pull in the people who came in via that intake form since the 23rd. So this is your way of like quickly assigning specific work to specific people. I'm not going to do that because I only just set it up this morning and I haven't actually filled it out. But then you could actually auto-generate TERFs for phone banking using this auto-create TERFs feature, or assign specific work to specific people based on geography as well. So really simple to use. Might seem a little intimidating at first, especially given how fast I went through that. But this is something we'd walk through with you in detail as part of your onboarding process. And we think is going to be a really powerful way of using the two tools together. The other piece that I mentioned briefly during one of those examples is you can use ladders in Action Network to say everybody who came in through the volunteer recruitment form is new to our list and then gets tagged as a potential leader should get a separate string of emails and text messages automatically from your Action Network group. And that would be using this feature that we call ladders here. So ladders just lets you create a series of automated emails, text messages. If I click manage here, you can see the entrance point here, and you'd have the ability to edit it as well. So super straightforward, but we're going to be tweaking this so you can actually create a trigger based on a tag. That should be coming up in the next couple of weeks, perhaps even actually next week. And being able to create a trigger off of a tag means that if you tag somebody as a potential leader in Action Network, starting the next hour when that sync is applied to, if you tag somebody as a potential leader in ActionBuilder, in an hour when the sync is applied, that tag is applied in Action Network, they'd enter this automated string of emails or text messages. Similar if you tag somebody as a potential donor, you could set it up so that they would basically automatically get a awesome, thanks for saying you're going to donate, here's a link to donate in their text messages, in their inbox, email inbox, which we're excited about. Other questions, anybody? Got one in the Q&A. Can we set up automatic reports in ActionBuilder and have them emailed? No, we currently do not have that feature in ActionBuilder. And the current reporting in ActionBuilder is fairly lightweight. So activity stream is where to go to like do your nightly debriefs, pull up all of the assessments that have been added in the last week. And then your wall chart, your list view here, you can filter, and then you can use this chart view for basic reporting as well. If you need more robust reporting, you can use a SQL mirror for that. And, we've got some Periscope dashboards set up that are really fun. Frequently using Periscope or Tableau, you can set up an automatic email to go out with those custom reports that you've created. You can export information into Excel as well using this export button. So that can work too. The other question is, can we edit the fields in an export to get a timestamp? That's a great idea. That would need to be prioritized as part of our cooperative development process, but that's a great one for me to take back to the crew. And definitely welcome any thoughts in the chat or in the Q&A about additional features you'd like added. It's always awesome to hear cool new ideas and get a sense of them. Take them back to the crew. Sweet. So we do have another training happening. The last training of the day, it won't be recorded. It's going to be the ActionBuilder Cooperative Development training where we're going to talk through the roadmap, and we're going to talk through all of, not all of, a good number of the features that are to come. So I just dropped that link in the chat. Final session at 4 p.m. ET. Do have a great question. I have 250 members that I have to call every month. Is there a way to keep track of who did I talk to and who didn't I talk to so I can follow up? Right now, yes, you'd use responses. So you'd have a response that says like, you know, did I talk to this person, like not home? And it would be a date type response. So you'd be able to say like not home on 7:30, like home on 8/1. So then you'd be able to keep track of that easily that way. Pull a query of everybody you talked to in the last month, that sort of thing. But we are about to add a Canvas status feature in ActionBuilder. That was prioritized as part of our cooperative development process. We'll be talking about that actually a little bit in the closing session. So encourage you to join that to hear more, but that'll make it easier to keep track of those. Who did I actually talk to versus who did I not? And if you're interested in ActionBuilder for your organization, who could we speak with to get started? Great question. So there's, I would recommend emailing join@actionbuilder.org. I just dropped their information into the chat. That'll go to our awesome team, Marvin, Michael, Seth. We'll be able to get you started. And then feel free to also email me. I am on vacation next week, but would be happy to talk to you as well when I'm back the week after next. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. I hope to see some of you on that final session talking about cooperative development, and we will see you soon. Oh, dropping my email to everybody now and dropping the link in the chat now to the final session as well. Here we go. Thank you all so much for joining, and have a great rest of your afternoon. Hope to see you soon.